notice card in your bulletin. Fill that out for us and drop it in the offering plate as it comes by later in the service. That will give us a chance to reach out to you, to see how your experience was with us, and see if there's any way that we could be serving you and your family. And I hope everyone else will do that as well, and see the opportunities to get involved in the life of our community on the back of the sheet. A couple of quick things for you as we get ready for a busy week in the life of our church. First of all, we got Hall of Treats coming up on Thursday night. That is going to be a fantastic opportunity for us to have literally hundreds of our neighbors walking through our building, giving us the opportunity to share the love of Christ with them, give them some food, give them some candy, give them some love, and it's going to be a great opportunity. I hope you'll plan on being a part of that. If you're one who is going to be handing out candy, or do some decorating of some kind, we plan on having the building open on Wednesday evening so that you can come in and do some of that work if you need to the night before. Also, I'll let you know that our UFW Bazaar is on Saturday. That starts at, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 8 a.m., right? Until 2 p.m. There'll be breakfast served by the Methodist then. There'll be lunch served by the UFW. It's going to be a great opportunity to remember everything that we did that morning goes directly to support missions in our community and abroad. So I hope you'll be a part of that. The last thing is, as I mentioned to you last week, next Sunday is All Saints Sunday. And so we are preparing to remember and celebrate the lives of our church members who have passed away in the last year, since last year's All Saints Sunday. I have a list of those names, but I haven't been here this whole year, so I don't know who's related to who and everything else, and I want to make sure that nobody is missed. So if you have a family member or someone you know of, you want to make sure it is a part of that, or particularly if you have a family member and you can share a picture of them with me for us to put on the screen next Sunday, I will greatly appreciate that help. So please just let me know if there's a member of your family who has passed away in our church over the last year that we can make sure that they are celebrated next week. And again, it is great to be with you this morning. I invite you now to please stand as the choir leads us into worship.
Dear great, mighty, Heavenly Father, God, we thank you. God, we thank you for the opportunity that we get to be here in your house, around the community of saints this morning. God, we thank you that from last week you have brought us back safely, you have brought us here. But God, as we look back over this past week, we know that it wasn't always easy. God, we have faced difficulties, we have faced challenges. God, in total, we can say that we have not always done your will, and we have taken our eyes off of you. So God, as we come this morning, as we come and draw back into your house and we draw closer to you, God, strengthen us in your spirit, alive in the spirit within us, so that this coming week and days ahead, God, we will stay centered. We will keep our eyes focused on you, and we will do what you would have us to do. God, we ask that you be with us also in this worship service, that you would be with everyone who leads, and God, may your spirit be here among us. Now, when we leave this place, we will know we have been in the presence of you. Clear our minds, clear our hearts, so that we can joyfully, wholeheartedly worship you this morning. And all of us give people say. Let us continue to worship as we sing Days of Elijah.
What's the combined age?
69. How are you, Billy? Are you 69?
69.
Who's older than
Kim Baines? It's Judy.
86.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes. How many years? 81. That is 81. celebrating an anniversary this month. Please stand. Okay, we got one half of the Chicanes and one half of the Angels. You and Robin, how many years? 30. 30. Kelly and Mark, 20. Two more. 10. Yeah. And for you all, 12 years. How many are you all celebrating this year? 6. And the other ones are making kids. So now at St. James, on the last Sunday of the month, we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. So as we get into November, it'll be the last Sunday we celebrate for November. So make sure you are here so we can celebrate you. But right now, for all the little boys and girls, if you want to come up and the children's home.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is good to see you. Do you remember a few weeks ago, not been more than a month ago, because I don't even know if I can remember what happened more than a month ago. Do you remember us talking about prayer a few weeks ago? Do you remember that? Do you remember the prayer that we learned? Do you remember what it was called? Yes, the Lord's Prayer. That's right. We talked about the Lord's Prayer because we were talking last Sunday about the way that we pray together when we come together as a church. And we talked about the fact that on Sunday mornings in our prayer time here, and that we will usually end that with saying the Lord's Prayer because that's what Jesus, when his disciples asked him how do we pray, he taught them how to do that. This morning we're talking about prayer again. But we're talking a bit more this morning about why it's important for each of us to pray by ourselves, too. Did you know that is something that Jesus did? In our scripture reading this morning, in Matthew chapter 14, twice in that chapter, in that story, Jesus goes off by himself to pray. At the beginning of the chapter, one of his friends dies. And when Jesus finds out about it, he goes off by himself to pray. And then after he does a miracle and he feeds 5,000 people, he goes off by himself again to pray. That is really good news for me. That is really good news to know that Jesus needed to go and pray. Needed to go and take some time by himself to spend time with his Father. You know, we got to talk to the people who we love. If we never talk to our moms and dads, if we never talk to our brothers and sisters, if we never talk to our friends, then we wouldn't know them very well, would we? No, we would not. And that's why we have to talk to God. Because God is there, he loves us, he's waiting for us, and he wants us to talk to him. Because he knows us really well, and he wants us to know him better. And we need to do it. Jesus himself needed to do it. He went off to pray by himself all the time. And it's something that we need to make sure that we're doing every day. You know, we can find little moments. You know, maybe when we wake up before we get out of bed. That's, of course, if you've woken up with enough time too late in bed for a second. Maybe at night before you go to sleep. Maybe if you're on the bus and have a few minutes to yourself. Right before you eat. There's all kinds of moments throughout the day. Pause for a second and just thank God for who he is and just check him and get to talk to him. I want us, does that sound good? Does that sound like something we can do? Now, I want us to finish though saying the prayer that we said a few weeks ago. And so if you can remember it, say it with me. And everybody's going to say it with us as we pray together. But let's pray the Lord's Prayer together, okay? Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. All right, y'all, y'all can stay up now.
The rest of us will stand as we continue to sing. That's not what's printed in your bulletin. We're going to be singing Sweet Hour of Prayer. I'll cast on him my every care, and wait for thee, sweet hour of prayer. Great transition as we turn to prayer time this morning. And so as we go, what are the prayer requests you would have us remember this morning? And we'll start with the congregation. Uncle Madison.
Bruce, please.
Joyce Howe. Doris Johnson. This is good. I ask that y'all remember the Elizabeth Roberts family from She was someone that I had in school. She was a guidance counselor, and she passed away suddenly a week ago, so remember her family. Who else?
Michelle Fuller.
Michelle.
We want to continue in prayer for Luke Davis and his family. A member of his family tragically died last week. And they had a memorial service yesterday, so continue in prayer.
Continue to remember Luke and April Davis. Luke had a family member passed away suddenly last week. Sarah, who else would you have us remember? Yes. Therese mentions her daughter and her family. Yes. Karen.
My friend from Illinois, Bree Shire, which is married to John Ware, they lost their son to violent breast cancer. His name is Scott.
Sharon has his remembers, but he had died suddenly of bile duct cancer. So remember his family as they grieve. Who else?
Mary Jane Cherry, she's having eye surgery on Tuesday. All the people who didn't show up today.
We can look around and see a lot of empty pews, so yes, if anyone's not here, please remember them, but also send a message this week, call them, text them, let them know that they are missed. Who else? Sheila Doyle's sister passed away. Yes, Miss Cindy.
My friend Barbara Emmel, who lives across the street from me, had shoulder surgery several months ago, and the shoulder replacement that was already in there was terribly infected. She had to have 6 weeks of daily antibiotic, IV, and treatment, and they went in and took some samples, and they're going to grow it to see if the infection is indeed gone, so they can go in and fix her shoulder. So this has been a long process, and she really is brave and keeps a stiff upper lip, but I know this has gotten to be hard. So if everyone would just pray that there's no more infection.
So Cindy has us once again remember Barbara and Lauren while she's holding her shoulder. Anyone else this morning? Remember those words that we just sang, cast all our cares on Him. You can do that where you are seated, but please know the altar is open. So let us go to the Lord in prayer this morning. God, it's a great and wonderful thing to know that God who created us, the one who created the world, the one who set all of this in motion, God, you care about us. God, you call us by name. Too often we get beat up by this world. We're bruised, we're broken. We have difficult times. We have those dark seasons. God, we feel so disconnected from you. And yet your word reminds us how intimately you know us. God, your word in Psalm says that you knit us in our mother's womb. You set a plan for us even before we were born. And yet if we were to ask, you would know how many hairs or lack thereof are on our head. God, it's when our heart breaks, yours breaks for us. When we're going through pain, you feel that pain. we kneel and we pour out our hearts, God, we know and we trust that you are listening. And God, you heard each and every prayer request this morning. God, you heard the things of those people that are close and dear to us and that are on our hearts and on our minds. And God, we offer them to you and say, have your way in their life. God, let your will be done. God, we know how we would pray, we know what we would do. But God, we do offer a reminder that you are God in their life. So that I pray that with each prayer request, you would be God in their life. And that you would reign. And God, where there's pain, you would bring healing. Where there's grieving, you would bring comfort. God, and as well as you know us, you know them. So we commend them, we put them at your feet, and pray that will be done. And God, we look around this room, in this building, and we see the empty pews. And God, we pray that wherever people may be this Sunday, that you would be there with them as well. That you would be with our men and women in the armed forces, our leaders, God, our local men and women who are in the police and the EMS, who are firefighters, and not even those emergency dispatchers, that God, you would be with those and protect them as well. God, we ask that you would lead us and guide us. And that God, you would reign supreme in our lives. That we would seek you with all that we have. We would not lose our faith. We would keep it solely on you. And God, we would have the strength to hopefully go out and be your children. We ask all of this in your precious, holy, magnificent name. And we all said, amen. Next form of worship, if I could have the ushers come forward, we will take up this morning's offering. Let's pray over this morning's offering. God, we thank you that we get to joyfully give back to you how you have blessed us. God, you give us gifts, you give us graces, you give us talents. And God, you do bless us financially as well. So God, this morning, as each person gives, God, let us be thankful that we can share how you have blessed us. We can give back to the work of your church. So God, this morning I also pray for those who will receive our church administrators, even within the United Methodist Church. God, that you would be with everyone who would have part of the offering, and that we would be good stewards of what you have given to us and asked us to lead and guide with. God, be with the gift, be with the giver, and be with those who will receive. God, we ask this in your holy name. Amen.
other side of the lake while he dismissed the crowd. When he sent them away, he went up onto a mountain by himself to pray. Evening came, and he was alone. Meanwhile, the boat, fighting a strong headwind, was being battered by the waves and was already far away from the land. Very early in the morning, he came to his disciples, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified and said, "It's a ghost!" They were so frightened they screamed. Just then Jesus spoke to them. "Be encouraged, it's me, don't be afraid." Peter replied, "Lord, if it is you, order me to come to you on the water." And Jesus said, "Come." Then Peter got out of the boat and was walking on the water towards Jesus. But when Peter saw the strong wind, he became frightened. As he began to sink, he shouted, "Lord, rescue me!" Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him, saying, "You man weak of faith, why did you begin to have doubts?" When they got into the boat, the wind settled down. Then those in the boat worshiped Jesus and said, "You must be God's Son."
And this is the word of God for the people of God, and our response is to say, "Thanks be to God." You may be seated.
As we transition into the sermon, I want to make sure to let you know this morning we have our district superintendent, Mark Dickinson, with us this morning out the back. We want to welcome him this morning, and especially welcome his daughters who are with him, who have to do the whole daughter obedience thing with us this morning. So let's welcome them this morning. I mentioned this before, but Mark was my pastor in Pikeville when I accepted the call to ministry now almost 11 years ago, and he was willing to let me stand up with very little warning one Sunday morning, as in like 5 5 minutes warning to make an announcement. What do you mean, Caleb? I was only 16 years old, but he was willing to let me do it, so declared my cause, so I appreciate it. Pray with me. God, we are so thankful for this chance to be in this place. We are thankful for the reading and the hearing of your word. And now, as I seek to proclaim it, I ask that the words that I speak would be yours and not my own. And I pray that each and every one of us will have our hearts and our minds open to what it is your Spirit is saying to us, that we may be changed and made more like you in this time together. Amen. Well, we continue in our series, Life to the Full, as we talk once again about prayer. And this morning, as we talk about prayer personally, prayer individually, prayer privately. Recently, I was listening to a song, and I've heard this song dozens of times now, because when I decide that I like a particular album or something, I become obsessive with it, and I listen to it in the car, and I listen to it when I'm home in the yard, and I just listen to it all the time until I have it completely memorized, and Gwendolyn has to suffer listening to me sing it. God bless her. But a few years ago, I got obsessed about a new musical that was out that you've probably heard of, Hamilton. Have you heard of the Broadway musical Hamilton? In my opinion, I know it's not universal, Abby, I'm sorry, I know you disagree with me, but in my opinion, it's one of the greatest musicals that's ever been written. Gwendolyn and I got a chance to see it in June, and it was absolute perfection. And I was listening just a couple weeks ago to it again. And so I've heard this song over and over and over again. I know it, but there was something that stuck out in me about it, and it led me to go down. Gwendolyn got me this book for Christmas a couple of years ago. It's about the musical, the writing of it, and the whole process as they went through it. There's this song in the show, and it comes at a point in Hamilton's life where his infidelity has broken his marriage. He has lost his position and his influence through political maneuvering. And most recently, leading into the song, his oldest son, his first child, has been killed. And I was listening to the song, and it made me want to open the book and read about it, because they kind of talk about what the process that Lin-Manuel Miranda went through writing the song. I want to read a little snippet here about his experience writing the song. It says, even more daunting than patching up their marriage, Lynn would need to dramatize their grief over their son Philip's death and the overwhelming sorrow of losing a child is something he had never felt firsthand. I can't know what this is, he remembers feeling. He sequestered himself in a quiet corner of the public, which was the theater they were in, composing music, scribbling verses, occasionally wandering the halls. The staff got used to seeing him pacing in his slippers. One day, he realized that his inability to grasp the enormity of Alexander and Eliza's loss wasn't a barrier to writing the song. It was the song. Quote, once I got the line, there are moments that the words don't reach. I have the song. I want to read you a few lines from the song. There are moments that the words don't reach. There is suffering too terrible to name. You hold your child as tight as you can and push away the unimaginable. The moments when you're in so deep, it feels easier to just swim down. And then these next ones are Hamilton singing. I spend hours in the garden. I walk alone to the store. And it's quiet uptown. I never liked the quiet before. I take the children to church on Sunday, the sign of the cross at the door, and I pray. That never used to happen before. And that last line, that's the one that struck me in a new way a couple weeks ago as I was, I guess, thinking about this sermon. Because I think we all know what those moments are like. We've all had a moment that the words don't reach. A moment when we are out of things to say. A moment when we may not know what to do. And I'm sure that many of us have found that in those moments, we often find ourselves led to pray. No matter what our prayer life is like, no matter how often we do it, no matter how well we do it, no matter how comfortable with it we are, we can find ourselves in these moments in life when we just have nothing else that we can do. Just in the last week or two, I have had conversations with many of you. I've had conversations with you about parents who are waiting for test results, parents who are going through operations. I've heard from you about being overworked or needing more work. I've heard from you about struggling to pay bills. I've heard from you about facing tragic death in your family. I've heard from you about attempting to manage anxiety and depression. And I've heard from you about still suffering from the loss of a loved one long gone. These are just the conversations that I've had with some of them over the last 2 weeks. Those are just the ones I know about. And in all honesty, there are times when I'm having those conversations, there are times when we are doing this thing called church together, when I feel wholly inadequate for this task. Feel wholly inadequate for this task because I'm one of those people, I want to do something more than just pray. I want to be able to fix it. I want to be able to do something. I want to be able to get my hands into the situation and force healing, force reconciliation, force deliverance. I want to be able to find answers where there may be none. And I know that oftentimes as I'm having these conversations, I know that that's exactly what the person who is talking to me wants to do as well. And so I feel wholly inadequate to this task because I sit there and I listen. And I want to do more than listen. But there are moments in our life, there are things that we go through where there is absolutely nothing left for us to do but listen. Where there's absolutely nothing left for us to do but to acknowledge our inability to do anything. Where there is nothing left for us to do but to go to God and to pray. That's the whole point. Jesus did that. Jesus did it time and again, and He didn't just do it because it was routine. Jesus' motivations to prayer were not lacking emotion. They weren't done just because it was done at the same time every day, but Jesus is a person. Jesus is a person who lived his life on this earth, and he knows what it is like to suffer. He knows what it is like to experience loss. He knows what it is like to be in a moment where you feel like you have nothing left but to pray. Here are these verses from earlier in the chapter that our reading came from, Matthew chapter 14, beginning in verse 5. It says, although Herod wanted to kill him, he feared the crowd because they thought John was a prophet. But at Herod's birthday party, Herodias' daughter danced in front of the guests and thrilled Herod. And he swore to give her anything she asked. At her mother's urging, the girl said, give me the head of John the Baptist here on a plate. Although the king was upset because of his solemn pledge and his guest, he commanded that they give it to her. Then he had John beheaded in prison. They brought his head on a plate and gave it to the young woman, and she brought it to her mother. But John's disciples came and took his body and buried it. Then they went and told Jesus what had happened. When Jesus heard about John, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. Jesus is a person, and he lived a life, and he experienced loss. And when John the Baptist had died, Jesus went off by himself. And it doesn't say the words he prayed, but I feel really comfortable making the guess that he prayed. That he needed some time to experience his grief and his sorrow. But then notice what he did afterwards. Notice what he did afterwards. It says, when the crowds learned this, they followed him on foot from the cities. And when Jesus arrived and saw the large crowd, he had compassion for them and healed those who were sick. That evening his disciples came and said to him, this is an isolated place, and it's getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go into the villages and buy food for themselves. What did Jesus do? He fed them. He didn't send the crowds away. He fed them. He fed 5,000 men plus women and children in miraculous way. And then after that story, we get to our scripture reading this morning where once again Jesus goes off for time by himself to pray. And he comes back again, and what does he do? He comes to his disciples who are stranded out on the water by walking on the water. Another miracle. Another demonstration of his power. You know, in Jesus' life, these significant events are often preceded or followed by Jesus' decision to go and to be in prayer. And Jesus tells us that he only does the will of his Father. How do we think Jesus found it out? He's praying. And in moments when Jesus was experiencing the depths of his humanity, he went to pray, and in God he found the strength and the direction that he needed to do the work that he was sent here to do. Probably one of the most well-known prayers of Jesus, one of the most emotional prayers and experiences of Jesus that we know is in the Garden of Gethsemane. As he is about to be arrested, and he tells his disciples that he is in such agony, it feels as if he is about to die, and he goes into that garden, and he goes away from them, and he engages in prayer. And this is not just some casual prayer from Jesus. These are the raw and the vulnerable words of a man who is experiencing suffering as he declares to God, Lord, if you can take this cup away from me, then take it away from me. But if it is your will, let it be done. Jesus found himself in these moments where he had nothing to do but to pray, where he needed to be with his Father. And in those times with his Father, he was led and equipped to do the work that he was brought here to do. And I have no doubt that God uses our prayers to do the same thing for us. Especially in those moments when we have finally admitted that there is nothing left for us to do than to listen to God. When we have admitted, despite my overwhelming desire not to do so, that there is nothing else that I can do in this situation. That there is nothing else, that there's no one else that I can be, there's no other great idea that I can have. That cannot fix the problem of dying parents, that cannot fix the problem of dying children, that cannot fix the problem of financial hardships. It can't. And as long as we're depending on our own ability, as long as we're depending on our own ideas, as long as we're sitting back here waiting, oh, eventually I'm going to figure it out, and then I'm going to go to God and tell Him how clever I am, and everything that I did to fix it, then we're never going to get it. We're never going to find His peace. We're never going to find the direction that He wants us to take. We're never going to be able to figure out what He wants us to do. Because He is the only one who understands fully what we're going through. He understands it better than we do. And in those moments when we have run out of words, He is the one who knows what to say. If I'm honest with you, I'm not very good at sharing prayer requests. I'm honestly not even good at celebrating what God has done for me. I think partly because of my personality and my unwillingness to acknowledge that this is a situation, every situation, is a situation where I need God. I need His leadership. I need His guidance and direction. Why can't I look back on my life and acknowledge that every time that something's been able to be figured out, He's the one who's made it happen? Why do I have to go through the whole process again and again? I don't know, but I love what Peter does in this story. I love what Peter does when he sees Jesus walking across that water and they get terrified, right? I love how the combination Bible says, they actually scream, they're so freaked out. But he says, don't worry, it's me, it's Jesus. And Peter says, if it's you, tell me to come. Jesus says, come. And Peter steps out of the boat. That's not technically, we may not describe that as technically a moment of prayer, but I think it's one of the most powerful examples of what our prayers can be. Just like last week, as we talked about the reading of Scripture and why that is something that we must do and what it does for us, I'm not here to tell you how to pray. I'm not here to tell you how to pray. Because, as we said last week, every single one of us has a different, unique relationship with God. Our prayers will look and sound and happen differently. I'm happy to help you and talk to you one-on-one and in groups to help us figure out what that can look like for you. But here from the pulpit, I can't just declare, this is how you must pray, other than what the words that Jesus gave to us were. But in the words of Peter, and in this interaction between Peter and Jesus, I do see something that is so simple, that is such a good direction for us, however it is we are going to pray, that Peter looked at his Lord and Savior, tell me to come, and I will. We can go to God, and if we say, tell me what to do, He will. The answer might not be what we want. The answer might be to just wait. That's the answer I get a lot. The answer might be just listen and spend time with Him. But God will answer. God will lead us. The only wrong way to pray is to not. And the right way to pray is to do it. When you do that, no matter what you're facing, no matter what experience you are in right now, I promise you, you will find God, you will find Jesus, you will find the one who can lead you through this, whatever it is. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. As we prepare to sing our closing hymn, as always, this altar is open for you, for a moment, for a time of prayer. If you'd like me to pray with you as you come forward, just raise your hand and let me see. I'd be happy to pray with you. If you'd like a moment to yourself, I'll just let you be. Whether you're here at the altar, whether you're in your seat, I know that God is speaking to you. I know that the Spirit is in this place and the Spirit is moving among us. He has something for you today. He has a calling for you today. And if any of you are here and you do not yet know Jesus, I know that His calling for you today is an invitation to come and to know Him. I hope that you will say yes. I hope that you will accept it. No matter what it is He is saying to you. Let us stand and join together in
we were on his bladder that they had scraped, and they haven't found cancer cells within the bladder, but they found a few cells, and they reevaluated that, and he doesn't have to have treatments. So, and what Caleb says is totally true. As I've gotten older and maybe a little wiser, I don't know. But I used to practice something good happen. I'm like, okay, something's going to go wrong. But, now I'm getting better at accepting it. Bad things happen. And my mom's always been a lot better than me, and we talked about that. Bad things are going to happen. But if you just pray, and I just felt a sense of calm, because whatever God's got, like Caleb said, it may not be the answer we want, but He always has us, and He's always with us. And I just want to share that because thank you, Caleb, and other people in the church for praying, and like I said, just very thankful. I want to share that.
Thank you. Still not your top two benediction.
Okay.
There's several. We are going to come up, and Gwendolyn, if you want to come up, or Jackson.
Oh, that's why Jackson's here.
That's fine.
Oh, that's all right.
Take over your service. But I'm Molly, and I'm the SPR chair, and the SPR team, along with the entire congregation, would just like to take a few moments for October is Pastor Appreciation Month, and we have gathered some cards and gifts of appreciation, and we just want you to know how grateful and thankful and completely blessed St. James has been since you've gotten here, and how much we appreciate your leadership and guidance, and how much we're looking forward to the future with you. So, thank you.
Thank you all so much. It is a continual blessing to be here. It is a continual blessing to worship with you. I said I'm not very good at sharing prayer requests, but I have found myself, we have found ourselves, in the months since we've been here, needing prayers more often than usual. And you all have surrounded us with so much love and care. Yeah. You have made us a part of this community, and I am incredibly excited for what God has done, is doing, and will do through this church and through all of us. So go forth from this place today under the lordship of God our Father.